Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast. It's your host, KG, and I am on the mic. Super fired up. And today I'm going to be going solo. This is probably our third episode in almost 300 where it's not Coach Josh and myself, and he's just feeling a little under the weather today. But don't worry, I will bring the heat. I will bring the fire. Super pumped to, just be here and speak to every single one of you. And the cool thing is, today I'm going to be talking about 15 non-scale wins. I'm not really sure what we're going to call it just yet, but, it's kind of funny. Today I was planning the episode and I started with 5. I was like, okay, I'm just going to go over 5 things, that are huge wins, especially if you are, just not focusing on the scale. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many. And I'm like, okay, 10 and then 15. And here we are, 15. I could probably go to 25 or maybe even 50, but for the sake of your time, let's just jump right into it. So with that being said, I just wanted to preface this and say, the scale is a great measurement tool, right? There is a lot of info that can be given from it, but there's also a lot of things that aren't being given from the scale. So if you do want to listen to, it's an older episode 179. I've linked it down below. It's an amazing podcast saying why you should and shouldn't care about your weight, right? So today I just wanted to make sure that you guys all understand there's so much more than just the scale. Of course, yes, losing 20 pounds, a lot of times, we talk about clients losing 20 pounds, 50 pounds, even 100 pounds, but there's so much more to it than that. And a lot of times people just focus on what that number is and they dictate how they feel based off of, what the scale says. You wake up, let's say you're 183 pounds, the next day it fluctuates. It says 184. Holy crap. You just have an absolute fit. Everything sucks, and you're just feeling super demotivated. It shouldn't be that way. Weight will fluctuate up and down for anywhere between 1 and 5 pounds every single day based off of 10 different factors. Salt, sleep, the time that you weigh in, there's so many different things. So anyways, now that that's off of my mind, let's jump into the first tip, or non-scale win. I'm going to start off with number 1, you're choosing the healthier option. And this one's probably one of my favorites, and that's why I wanted to start with it, because you may notice as you start to get into fitness and working out and just doing all of this fitnessy type stuff that you just start to kind of pick the right thing, right? You may be someone, and what I mean by that is who's someone who drinks a lot of Cokes or soda, and then you find yourself picking maybe a sparkling water or just water. You may be the person who doesn't walk as much, but then you start maybe saying, oh, I'm gonna park a little bit further. You find yourself just being okay, maybe at dinner, instead of having a drink of alcohol. And once again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Fitting alcohol into your calories and all that stuff is totally cool, but you may find yourself just making that healthier choice. Instead of having fast food 7 times per week, you might start to limit that to 3, right? So you just start to notice yourself being making kind of a bit of a smarter decision, and just something that leaves you feeling better, right? Versus something greasy food that just doesn't leave you feeling good, or hitting the snooze button. You might start to actually wake up at 6 or whatever and go for a walk, right? So that's probably the biggest thing, and that's just an amazing victory. Celebrate that when you notice that, because there's so many times you're going to notice that on your journey. Number 2, just as important, your mental health is improving. Now, this is something that a lot of people overlook, but with that being said, just simply noticing, hey, I'm starting to feel better. I'm a little bit happier. It's just such a game changer. And our mental health is obviously the most important thing. Obviously being in shape is super important, but our mind and how it operates and how we feel day to day, when you start working out even, and that's why it's not just about the scale. It's if you're, let's say you don't even lose any weight, but you start to feel better on the inside, where, just from simply moving, from making better eating decisions, from walking, from doing all this amazing stuff. It's just crazy how great exercise is for you. And I remember some people here have probably read the book by it's like the Good Life CEO. I forget his name, but when I first got into fitness, I remember reading the book about exercise and how he had like 150 to 200 different benefits of exercising, and I just thought it was really cool. I didn't take any of the tips from there. I haven't read it in a while, but I'm like, man, if I made a full episode on like why exercise is good for your mental health, your health, just all that good stuff, we'd be here for the next few hours. So number 2, you'll start to notice your mental health improve. Of course, there's going to be days where it's tough, but at the end of the day, in the long run, it should help with all the healthy options that you start to create. Number 3, your clothes are going to start to fit you better. And this one is huge. I've had hundreds of clients now who have just simply said, hey, listen, I know that I'm making great progress when these pants start to feel a little bit better. And I'll get a lot of messages. Hey, the classic, like someone's wearing their old pants for when they started, and then they are, just kind of like you could see that they've lost a lot of weight. I don't know how to describe it without showing you a photo, but you guys get exactly what I'm saying. Your clothes are just going to start to feel significantly better. You're going to go down in sizes. One of the biggest problems that I find my coaching clients have on their fitness journey is that they have to buy new clothes. And I'm just like, you know what? Like I'll always get that message. And I'm like, hey, problems could be worse. You could have made zero progress, but now you're 20 pounds down. Of course, yes, the scale is a victory, but at the same time, now you have to buy new clothes. Like, hey, celebrate that one, right? That's absolutely huge. And I did want to also mention, if you are looking to get in shape and stay in shape, right now, it's been absolutely incredible. We've been getting so many messages of people, especially because there is a giveaway. Make sure to head over to our Instagram at Colossus Fit, COLOSSUSFIT. We just announced the Starbucks gift card winner, and we also have a Lululemon gift card winner. But a lot of people who've been following us have been asking us, hey, what the heck do you guys do? Are you accepting new clients? And for a while I was saying no, but right now I am going to be accepting 3 to 4, depending on, however many spots Josh has available, people who want to get in shape for summer and stay in shape. So send us a message also on Instagram at Colossus Fit, Summer Abs, and we will take care of you there. Okay. And number 4, you're losing inches. Every single one of my clients has to take measurements, and I've just seen so many incredible things take place that some people may not even realize. For example, someone may lose 5 pounds. Awesome. That's great. But they also may lose 15 to 20 inches, right? 4 to 5 inches off the waist, like you might lose in the shoulders and the chest area, maybe even in your quads area, depending on your current situation, of course. But it's just been crazy because I've just seen like incredible things. And, I didn't really realize it was too possible until I became like just an online coach and started helping a lot of people do body recomps. And that's why the scale definitely doesn't give you all of the information, especially if you are someone who fits in a category where you may be doing a body recomp. This is possible that your measurements are improving, your clothes situation is improving, you're putting on little bits of muscle or at least maintaining it, but you're also losing fat. So you may not be able to see that from the scale. And studies have shown that it actually is possible for a lot of people who are, maybe untrained or just someone who's a bit of a beginner or someone who's overweight. If you've been doing this for like 10 to 15 years, it's going to be harder to do that, but there's still possibilities. So making sure that you take your measurements. Recently, I did talk about all the right areas to measure, but, if you're a client of mine, you know that we use the classic spreadsheet and we put all of our measurements in there. Number 5, I guess this is just a different way to monitor progress. Like this is like a podcast. Hey, how to monitor progress without that dang scale. So number 5 is just that your photos look different. So all of our clients every 4 weeks will take photos. I prefer to do them from the front, the side, and the back because once again, you can see an incredible amount of differences just from that. And there's going to be some times where you may sometimes people take it week to week. I personally prefer minimum every 2 weeks, but typically every month is more ideal because then you kind of get that wow factor, especially with all of our clients. They're like, I wish I could show you my screenshots right now. They're like, holy crap. I had my client Samantha just say, all I can say is wow. And I'm like, yeah, awesome. You've obviously lost weight, but the photos tell us so much different stuff. And this also goes for a body recomp, right? Once again, you may just start to see yourself tightening up. Your muscle mass is kind of looking a little bit more firm and like kind of pronounced, but the scale may be still a little bit stubborn, right? So just wanted to also mention we do prefer to calculate the average because I have mentioned that it fluctuates so much. That's where a lot of people go wrong. So if you are going to use the scale, once again, not a bad thing. I do believe everyone should be using it, but I did want to just like make this podcast to kind of put you guys at ease, because I find most people are so focused on that number that they forget about everything else that they're doing. They forget about the fact that they're starting to feel better. The fact that number 6 right here, you can start to do more things that you enjoy. You know, your cardiovascular system's getting better. You can now go on long hikes. You can maybe keep up with your kids. Now, these things are the most important factor. Of course, you do want to be at a relatively healthy body fat. So that way, you know, just everything in life does become easier, and just, you know, you won't have any issues in the long run. Like, I'm not going to hide the fact that that is super important, but, you know, simply being able to start to do more things, like, that's a huge win. I had a client, Ken, text me the other day. I posted on Instagram stories. Make sure to, you know, stay up to date with their stories, but he's like, hey, yeah, it was basically 2 weeks ago where he had signed up and he started to just be able to stay longer in the hockey game, right? He has a kid. I believe his kid's 5 years old or something like that. You know how hectic it can be then. And then a week later, I got a text saying, hey, I just scored on a breakaway. Like, I never would have been able to do that. So it's like, this is such a huge win that, yes, he lost up to 10 pounds within the first few weeks, but like, we want to get away from just caring about that. And even sometimes clients will say, hey, oh man, like, I lost like 5 pounds. Like, I'm so pumped. I'm like, okay, that's great, but let's start to kind of focus on other things, because next week it's very possible that the weight will spike up a little bit, and we don't want you to be too attached to that number. Just put in the spreadsheet, keep going, stay the course, and let's focus on these other things. So with that being said, that one's huge, right? You can do more things that you enjoy. That's a game changer. And number 7, everyday tasks are starting to get easier for you, right? And this kind of even like, it doesn't really just go into pain. That's something I wanted to talk about after, but, you know, just specific things that you do. It could be, you know, walking the dog. It could be just like, once again, doing things for kids. It could be like maybe even putting something up on a shelf where your shoulders weren't strong enough and now you're able to do that. You know, maybe when you were cooking, you used to lose a little bit of, you know, lose your breath. Like, it could be walking up the stairs. Like, there's so many different things, but just simple everyday tasks. Like, start to take note. And I hear, you know, a lot of clients will just say, man, I just started to be able to do this specific thing. Like, I was never able to do that. And this is a huge thing that shouldn't be overlooked. Number 8, this one is so important. Your strength is going to be going up in specific workouts. We ask every one of our clients in the weekly check-in, hey, is your strength going up, right? It's not always going to go up. You know, progress isn't linear, but we do want to put an emphasis on the fact that, hey, strength should be going up in one way or another. You know, we always talk about progressive overload, but, you know, the one thing I wanted to mention is, like, calculate your PRs, like, where are you at? Like, really keep track of your workouts, because if you're gaining strength in different, like, you know, just if you're someone who's doing 5 pounds on a lateral raise and you end up being able to do 12 or 8 or 10, like, that's huge. You know, calculate your squats, like, you know, how are they? And even like past strength, maybe range of motion's getting better. Maybe you were someone who couldn't even go to 90 degrees for your squat. Now you're able to do that with the exact same weight. So that's why I do personally recommend keeping track of your weights that you're using. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to write down every single thing, but you do want to monitor. And one mistake I've made in the past is just like going into my workouts not knowing and not keeping track, because then I would just choose random weights. So this is huge, because like, it gets so addicting. You know, I've been someone who's done numerous powerlifting competitions, and you know, just I got super obsessed with it, you know, hitting like almost 500 pounds on the squat. But above all, you know, full range of motion, good reps, improving strength is like a huge one. And I'd say this is probably the most important factor for progress that's a non-gym related, non-scale related win in the gym, right? So if you can kind of start to become obsessed with that, like, you know, and just be like, oh man, I want to get stronger. I want to be able to lift this. Like, I'm lifting, you know, hundreds on the shoulder press or even 30s or whatever it is. It can become like, you know, once you see that progress, you become addicted. And I find that a lot of clients who aren't really focused on the strength aspect can sometimes become demotivated and kind of just like, oh, I have to work out. But now I'm just like, oh man, I get to work out. Like, I'm lifting heavier weights. I'm going to challenge myself here. I'm going to, you know, be hitting a deadlift PR. You know, you don't want to always be hitting PRs, but hey, strength is going to be your best friend. And it's not just about doing it with crappy reps. Strength is going to be something that's a long-term investment and help you for the rest of your life. Putting stuff on shelves, having strong shoulders will help you, put something in an overhead compartment on an airplane without getting injured, whereas someone else might. So lots of things to think about here. Number 9, your sleep has improved. Now, one of the greatest benefits of just fitness and, just doing this whole healthy lifestyle thing, whatever you want to call it, is just improve sleep. A lot of times people have poor sleep. They start exercising. They start, paying attention to specific foods. Like they start going to bed properly. Like, we obviously talk about the importance of sleep, but you should notice, within the long run that your sleep will improve. And that's a huge non-scale win. Next up, your mind is going to become sharper, and as I've kind of mentioned a little bit in the past, your mood is going to improve. Now, just keep note of this. Like, sometimes you may realize that your mind is a little foggy, you can't focus, and especially like as you start to add in specific things, that we always mention on the podcast, like, some meditation, some gratitude journaling, going for walks, maybe going for a run if you want, pushing yourself there, strength training, eating healthy, good whole foods that benefit you. Like, you should notice that in the long run, you start to become a bit sharper. And I notice a big difference when I'm like not making healthy decisions, not really moving much, kind of being a bit lazy, sleeping in, nothing wrong with sleeping in, but just not doing the stuff that I usually do. I do notice a difference. So I just feel so much better, even just getting a mini workout in the morning. And kind of fun fact is, recently just been super tired. I've been doing so much exercise, and I decided to kind of like chill in bed a little bit more in the morning. And I noticed that I felt a lot worse than if I were to just have gone for a 15-minute walk. So the next day I was like, you know what, let's see like what the actual difference is in the way that I feel. So the day that I stayed in bed, chilled, kind of like read a book, like that still felt okay. But the next day I was like, okay, let me just get outside, get some vitamin D, some sunshine, go for a walk with my dog, all that good stuff. It just felt amazing. And I'll never forget that now, because every single time I decide to not want to go for the walk, I'm going to think of how I felt there. Number 11, your joints don't hurt as much. Now, this comes with just full range of motion exercise, starting to add in some mobility, and just, simply exercising. A lot of times people have the preconceived thought like, oh, strength training, squatting, doing all this stuff like hurts my bones, and, it's going to hurt my joints. And like I've heard, people say, oh, don't squat with weight because your knees are going to hurt. And like, of course, with improper form, things are not going to be great, but your joints will start to feel a lot better as you strength train. It's been a proven fact that it's an amazing benefit, and just something to kind of think about on your fitness journey. Number 12, your endurance is improving. I'll never understand why people want to go about fitness and not do cardio. Now, your heart is without a doubt one of the most important muscle groups out there. I'd say the most important. So why not train it, right? Focus on endurance. Like, even if you want to start your journey, maybe try to like, see where you're at. Like, there's nothing better than starting to realize, oh my gosh, I can run for 20 straight minutes when I couldn't do 3 before. I could never run up this hill before. Not just running related. Running does come with like some potential risks, of course, as I've mentioned before, but it could be bike riding related. It could be using like a stair stepper. Just take note, because as you start to do this whole fitness thing, you should be able to notice that your endurance is going to improve in some way or another. It's not just going to be about going for as long as possible, but maybe you're able to do a mile in a little bit quicker, right? So take note of that, because that's a game changer as well. Your blood work has improved. I don't really need to explain this one. Make sure to get your blood work checked. That's one of the things a lot of people forget, but it should be improving within your fitness journey for sure as you start to make all these healthy decisions. Second last, you have more energy. Man, this one, I'm fired up right now. I worked out today. I made, some good healthy food. I'm pumped. Your energy should be improving as you start to, as we mentioned, pay attention to these things such as sleep. Like it's not always like set in stone that like, oh my gosh, you're going to be always crazy energetic. I understand work may be crazy, you may have kids, and, you may just be drained from that. But over time, as you start to exercise, like, I've always heard the excuse like, oh, I don't have time to exercise. Like I have no energy. I can't do it. And I used to think that at the very beginning when I just became a personal trainer. And then I realized that I personally believe that doing exercise gives us energy. Picking the right healthy whole foods ends up giving energy. Like there's 10 to 15 things we can do on a daily basis, even if it's like small, that will actually give us energy. So, before you kind of use that excuse, I know situations come up, but I do believe that this is a huge win. And a lot of clients have started saying like, for the first weeks of just like doing all this stuff, they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have more energy. I don't feel like I'm absolutely wiped out at 7 p.m. now. I feel like I can wake up and just, instead of wanting to lay there for 2 hours, I actually want to get up and start moving. And, maybe it's because they have a game plan or whatever it is, but it's also, I think, just a huge win that a lot of people experience on their fitness journey. And last but not least, the second most, probably the most important one, tied with the first one, is you're just turning it into a lifestyle, and you're also impacting those around you. Now, this one is absolutely huge. And, as you start to notice, like kind of similar to the first one where I said you're choosing the healthier option, you're going to start to find yourself, and this is like just a huge win, like just being that person in your circle, like, oh, you're the one who, like everyone's saying, oh, who needs to work out? And you're like, nah, I need to go get my workout today, and just like kind of making it fit your lifestyle. We always talk about cardio. I love it, but that's because I make it fit my lifestyle, right? I go on a bike ride with friends. I'll go on a run with friends, go on a walk with, my dogs and all that stuff. And as you kind of start to like just turn into a lifestyle and just make it fit, when you get to that point, and I know a lot of you here have gotten there where you just don't feel like it's like homework. You feel like, it's just like, oh, it's another day. Okay. And then you start to have these like 3 to 5 things that you do daily, such as maybe a healthy lunch, such as maybe drinking your 2 to 3 or 4 liters of water, such as maybe going for a walk, and then above all, even just starting to impact those around you. If you start to notice other people making healthier decisions because of you, don't let that slide. It's just absolutely incredible. And I've seen it happen so many times. And I guess I'm going to add a bonus because I just thought of it as well, is compliments from other people. That's a huge non-scale victory. A lot of the times you're stuck in your own body. You've been looking at yourself for the past 2 years, saying negative things about yourself, and you always have that preconceived thought that, oh man, nothing's working, I don't deserve this. It's been said on average we say up to 50,000, we have 50,000 thoughts per day, and 70 to 80% are negative, which is crazy, right? So when other people start complimenting you, do not let that don't let that slide, actually be like, no, thank you. I appreciate that. I've been working hard. I've been doing this stuff. And, it's awesome because they'll notice way earlier than you will, especially once again, because you already have those thoughts about yourself. And, we're always emotionally attached to those results and what's going on and stuff like that. So I just wanted to mention that because, I sometimes be like, hey, I don't know if I see something like different here. And I'm like, absolutely. Like, do you see your stomach? Do you see your back? Do you see what's happening here? And then obviously all these other wins, like, hey, even consistency. Like, I think this is I could go on for days here. This is a number 17, I guess. And another bonus is just a consistency related win. You could be someone who never used to go to the gym. Now you're going 2 times a week. That's a huge win. You could be someone that did 2,000 steps a day before, and now you're starting to do 4,000 steps, right? Pay attention to those consistency things, because even if you can set a consistency goal of like, okay, I'm going to get in the gym 10 times this month, 20 times per month. That's a huge win. I know I keep saying huge, but I'm fired up. I could go on for days here, but make sure to tune in to Motivation Monday. It's going to be absolutely fire. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Colossus Fit. And of course, if you are looking for the #1 online coaches to support your journey, get your results, keep your results, that actually care. I always say you're not just another number when you come into our coaching program. We actually genuinely care. The check-ins are done by us. The communication is done by us. Everything is done by either Coach Josh or myself, and we couldn't be more excited to work with you. So hey, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully this helped at least one person today. That's all I really care about, is making an impact. And thank you so much. Have a great day, and peace and love always. Cheers.